All
Yeah, it was funny.
right.
Is it on?
We should be. It looks like we are. Let me do
Hello,
that.
hello.
Welcome, 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 everybody. I think we're on. I don't see that we are on. What is going on here?
Boy, they really had difficulty getting MDC on YouTube and Facebook. They were like just
Oh,
Zoom.
here we go. Now we're go. Now we're go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Sorry for all of the technicals there, but we're back. We're ready to rock and roll. It is Friday, and welcome to episode 32 of the podcast Unlimited Wisdom with Robert Hollis. I'm Craig A. Jackman, along with Matt Hollis, and we are so glad to have you with us. We just appreciate the fact that you are here, you're supporting us, you're watching, and you are enjoying what we share on Unlimited Wisdom. So, thank you so very much. Happy holiday season to everybody as we head into the end of the year. Gentlemen, let's get started. Matt, Robert, welcome.
Hello, hello. How's it going? How's everybody's week been so far? Pretty
Outs
crazy?
Outstanding. Thank you, Matt. Nice to see you. Hi, Craig. Thank you for getting us on. This is awesome.
I was
Oh,
gonna say my week's been exciting. Man, there's
Why?
so much
Go,
world's changing
go.
in such a positive direction for me. Like I
oh, that's
all the
awesome.
all the AI stuff coming out is like exponentially. I keep talking about it. We'll get into it, but it's like you even had like Sam Altman come out and he's like, I don't think anyone's gonna realize that like we're basically almost at AGI and like nobody really cares. You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
funny because O1 came out yesterday and it is fucking amazing. Like the capabilities and the things. Have you guys been able to play around with it yet?
Not as much as you have, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I use it a little bit, and I think it's great. Just even for the little amount that I use it. I mean, I'm using it just for writing and for ideas, but I know that especially what you've shared, that is only the minuscule part of it.
I'm still using
And
I'm still using it like Google. You know what I mean? Give me another
and a
word
lot of
for
people are,
give
yeah,
give me another word for
300 million people.
expectations.
Yeah.
yeah. And
We
and I
have
and
300
I know that
million
you said
people
there's
on
a
AI now?
On ChatGPT.
yeah,
Holy
you shared
cow.
that with us yesterday, and it was like, oh my gosh. I mean, can, talk about the future, and it's right
Well, I
here in
think
our hands.
like Google, I think has like 6 billion. Let me ask GPT.
Ah,
How many
there we are.
queries
Let's ask
Instead of hey,
ChatGPT a
let's not
question about
Google it.
Google.
Let's not Google it. Let's GPT it.
It's AI. We got to start saying
AI.
it. We got to chat it. And don't they got chat.com now?
they do. Chat.com should go straight to GPT. I
Oh my
think. I
gosh.
believe. I forget how much they paid for that. It was like a pretty penny, but
Oh, that's got to
I
be well.
Who
Yeah.
cares? Who cares when you got
Let's
money?
see.
yeah.
Well.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
you're
it
you're
does.
making the
It goes
technology of the future, right? So,
Chat
um,
GPT. Chat.com goes to Chat GPT.
So instead of saying Google it, was chat it.
Yeah.
so here's something that's really really crazy, right? 300 million active users in less or in 2 years, and then 1 billion messages a day. As an
Oh
example,
wow.
Google gets 6 billion core searches a day. So
One sixth of the
ChatGPT
way.
ChatGPT is already 1/6 of the way to Google's level, and they've been around forever, right?
Cool.
So
Yeah.
eventually we're all going to be going to chat.com to ask everything. But I posted something yesterday too in the Imaginators group, and it's like, having a PhD person and all this stuff in the palm of your hand for $20 a month is pretty
I
pretty
read through
nuts.
that. That's
And
That's
go through them if you have it.
oh, I'll find it. Let me see.
You know what I think is so funny about Matt Craig, and some of the audience probably agree. You here's when you know that your frequency, your vibration, everything, you're in the
hmm
vortex, all the stuff that we talk about, you're passionate, your imagination is wide open, is when you keep apologizing for dominating the conversation. you know, and it's like I know that Matt does that a lot. It's like, dang it, man. I'm doing my best, but think about it, Matt. You're throttling your imagination and emotion and sharing it with the world because of other people's thoughts. I mean, honestly, if I didn't want to hear about it, I'd go, Matt, listen, I'm fucking tired of hearing about this shit. You know what I mean? And if the audience doesn't like it, maybe you should find another podcast.
Well, I was going to
and not
say
only
people
that,
are
the
obsessed with it.
enthusiasm in which he shares that, because you
Say
can
that again,
tell
Craig. I'm sorry.
it's not only that, it's the enthusiasm in which he shares it.
Yes.
Because what is more engaging, what is more attractive, what is more enticing than the enthusiasm that someone is sharing with you? And if you're on the same, like you say, frequency and the same vortex, oh my gosh.
People sometimes, when I was really, really young, I ran into a very intelligent guy that did subliminal programming, did some stuff that's still in Appcock, and he would call it, he called it the magnetic voice. That when you're talking about a certain thing, I think some other people call it charisma. They don't understand passion. I mean, a lot of people, when I'm in that vortex or whatever you want to call it, some people think I'm mad. You know what I mean? Because I come across with people like, hey, listen, can you pull your head out of your ass and fucking pay attention and go along from the ride? If you don't know what's going on and you don't believe in it, then just fucking follow me. Put your faith and belief in somebody else. And I, just like Craig said, Matt, I've heard people passionately and with magnetic voice and on the right frequency and vortex, and they're talking about shit I cannot understand. I've heard people talk in other languages. So when I open up a new country and I show people my app on my phone and they see my income and they're talking in Hungarian, it makes all the hair stand up on my body and I don't know what they're saying. It's just like,
Yeah. Well, that's like, that excitement and stuff is infectious. Like the more the person is charismatic and excited about what they're talking about, the more they'll be able to like convince you that it's like important, which is obvious. And I obviously really, really love this stuff. Like it's not just this aspect of it, but like I love technology as a whole, whether it's AI or virtual reality or augmented reality, mixed reality. Could keep going, reality. No, just but the exciting part about it all is that the exponential growth, we're kind of starting to hit that. It's like we went from slowly but surely going to like now we're going up Mount Everest like very quickly.
Yeah.
People don't realize that O1 that came out yesterday for all paid people is only 3 times better than ChatGPT 4.0, which is what everybody else has been using. They don't want to call this version of it GPT-5, but it's like almost GPT-5, right?
I had no clue.
So it doesn't have, I think it doesn't have voice. Maybe it does. Yeah, it does have voice.
I think in the premium it does. At least that's what I thought I saw.
Yeah. So I'll have to mess with that later because I've just been typing to it. It doesn't have search or anything yet, but man,
the potential is so incredible, and especially like you're saying, we're watching the curve go almost vertical at this point. I mean, it's been a slow incline, almost like a jet taking off, but now we're almost into the phase of a rocket. Because
like this model can replace all customer service jobs, all like a lot of UI UX jobs, a lot of programming jobs. It also is very, very good at like solving complex problems, especially the pro model, in such a way that, like anytime I get a new GPT model, right, my initial thought is to ask it the same questions I asked it way back when I first started.
Sure.
The questions that we don't have the answers to, and like have those conversations with it, because now I'm like, I've got the next version of it, right? So I want to see what it has to say. But still, like I use it for so many different things. Like I said, I was using it for gold prices last night. I took a picture and said, at what time, based off of the current events that you see in this gold pattern, at what time do you think that it will go back up. And it said, based off this pattern, I believe that it will go back up at this time. It was right. Well, obviously, like, the power of that is extreme. It can't pull the trigger without agents yet because it can't reach out to any software and use it. But we're like right around the corner from that happening anyway. And so to be able to use this and I'll read that thing off now, but it's $20 for general PhD knowledge everywhere, always in your hand. $20 for getting every question you can think of answered with the highest level of accuracy. So
and that's per month,
more,
if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
$20 per month.
Right. Drop in the bucket for what you get. It's like insane what you get with this.
This or
$20,
Netflix, you know.
Right. $20 for always having a medical advisor with you, having all your blood values annualized as an image by the best physician there is. So, you know, you go to the doctor, you get your whole entire blood panel done. You get it shot out to you. You take pictures of that and send it to GPT-01, and it can just tell you exactly what each one of those things mean at the level that you want. $20 invested in the future for even better models. Like I said, that $20 goes towards making the technology better. A lot of people don't think about this because they think I'm paying $20 for Netflix, but your $20 is going towards getting a bigger, better version of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So like, why not? And then $20 for being able to answer every question you can think of for your child. Every child will have, I've said this many times, will have their own tutor that can teach them at their own level. O1 is the best model that we've ever had for mathematics, to the point that it can do advanced mathematics almost at a PhD level. It could take those PhD mathematics and do something that most PhD students or PhD doctors can't do, which is explain it to a 5-year-old at the same level, right?
Holy crap. That's so true.
Keep
like
it
how a
super
black hole
simple.
works.
Yeah.
And like I said, I use this for business planning. I use this for writing. I use this for stock trading. I used it earlier because I took my PC apart and put a new hard drive in it as to what my specific motherboard could handle as far as read write for hard drives. So all I got to do is ask it based off, I could give it the whole manual for my hard drive and then ask it specifically what the best slots would be for different things, and then have a conversation about it. I don't have to do any Googling about it. And if something goes wrong, I just go back to it and say, hey, this slot isn't really writing at the speed that I need it to. Because now I'm hitting like, I was using a Thunderbolt port with a external NVMe hard drive that I had built to run AI into my computer. Because this just made it easy to like unplug and take with me if I had any of the stuff that I would need. But it's kind of gotten to the point now where like, you know, I have a 4090, which is like a $2,000 GPU graphics card, right? Has like 24 gigs of VRAM. All this is probably nonsense to most people.
Hey, again, I can see you're passionate. Keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the
this card is like the best that you can currently buy to run artificial intelligence at home, right? I didn't buy it for that reason. I just got lucky, right? I got it before it skyrocketed in price because of all this stuff. And I got it for like video editing and shit. But basically, that 24 gigs of virtual RAM that it has is not even enough now. Like we're getting to the point where I had to put the hard drive in so I could get faster read writes on the hard drive into my computer, so I could crunch out like another minute or two, because now at this point I can like I could take a picture, and I was showing these guys this. I could take a picture of Craig and give him a mustache, and you wouldn't be able to tell that he didn't grow that himself, right?
Crazy.
That takes this computer about 6 to 8 minutes to do. You know, in the older models and stuff, before we were at that point, I could knock it out in 30 seconds. Now it's getting to the 6-minute mark, and I'm going, I got shit to do. And when I mean 6 minutes, I mean I cannot use my computer for 6 minutes. Like it's using 100% of my computer. So yeah, it's exciting, but it's also getting to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna have to invest more money into this again. You know?
Well, but you know, in the positive side though, Matt, you're a pioneer when it comes to this.
Yeah,
and you're
I just got lucky, like I said.
Yeah,
and it was right place, right time, and you can say like fate, or whatever. Like
what is
me
that?
being into the technology.
What is that?
You know, what is it? There's a word for it, you know, like when you're anticipating something. Oh, preparation meets luck, right? Like I've been
Mm-hmm.
preparing and being part of multiple different versions of technology leading up to this point that are all next level technology.
Right.
And so I had built out a rig and built out a large amount of things before AI started even become a thing for other reasons, for virtual reality, for video editing 8K footage down to 4K, like have you ever taken something 8K that came out of a camera and tried to edit it instead of Premiere without it crashing? You need a lot of RAM and a lot of VRAM to do that. So it's like, well, I want to be a pioneer in these things, and that's really just I was just prepared at the right place at the right time for it. But
You
now I'm
took
like,
advantage of something that you liked and you built on it. You learned it. You started from scratch. Gee, where am I getting all of this from here, Robert? Hint, hint.
Yeah.
You took it from step one, and you're still going. You're in a sense at step done, even though it's not done. But I mean, when it comes to where you are today. And that's the thing is you're ready to go because you started when you had the interest, when you had the passion to start. You still have the passion, and you've continued with that passion so that you are right there where you need to be at the right place at the right time.
We call
yeah,
it, a lot of times I know that when we watch, for those of you that haven't seen it, you'd have to have the right mind and right heart to watch it. But it's called The Soul, Soul by
Oh,
Pixar.
yes.
And
Yes.
and
What
we
a great
talked about
movie.
that. And there's another thing that's, called the zone, being in the zone.
the
But,
flow.
a lot of, because I'm into mixed martial arts and also, race car driving, there are people that are working at a different level of instincts. And there's a saying that you constantly hear. And for people that have never been there, you'll never get it. You'll never get it until you believe that you get it. But it's actually is if you're thinking about it, that you're too late. That you do not have the ability to think and react. That might sound weird, but the best people in the zone are imagining a better future for themselves or where they want. And then they look at everything that was laid in their path when they did it when they were supposed to, or they met the person they were supposed to, or they moved or did something, and they just magically or miraculously, whatever you want to use, just meet the right people at the right time. And those people collaborate at that right time. And when someone looks at it like Steve Jobs says, connecting the dots, looking backwards, there's really no way that when I told Mom about the little thing that I shared with you guys today, that I jumped on a Zoom with a group of brand new people. And as soon as I jumped on with this guy that was bringing his group over, I got a notification of a trade. And so I just hit record on Zoom and then did the trade. And then the rest of the people got on, and then I told them what I did and closed out the trade and made $330. So in a matter of just seconds, while everyone was getting on, it was less than a minute, while everyone was getting on, they watched me do what I was about ready to talk about. And there is absolutely no facts or PowerPoint presentation that could have got that point across to them faster than me just doing it right there. They just all went, so you did this, and this, and then you made that, yeah?
It's
Yeah.
amazing what taking action with what you want and what you desire will do, and especially how much of a great teaching tool that desire and what you shared did. Because
Yeah.
you could have just said, I did this, I did that, and it worked. But no, the timing was just perfect enough for
Yeah.
you to say, watch this.
We
Documentation beats conversation.
Yeah, we did a corporate call today, another monthly corporate call, and I think it was 7 out of the top 10 people are from Poland, and so get this one here. I'll just say this name. I don't even remember her name. There's a lady on the leaderboard at number 2. The people that are the leaders of this Poland team, they're not connected to her on social media. No one knows who reached out and got her. She has no marketing experience. And she just did over 60,000 in volume for the month of November. She seen it, went, oh my God, I will do it. She did it, and she told everybody about it.
Well, like even
Everybody,
the
like,
distance. Yeah,
yeah,
when
how
someone's
is like,
excited.
okay, so she got excited. She believed she could do it. She then attempted it and did it because she believed that she could. Then she showed her results to everyone she knew because she didn't care what people thought. She was going, oh my God, I just like me when I got involved. I tapped on this. Look at here, I made money. This is stupid. I tell the world. And everybody else has to think. So how in the hell do you teach people that stuff? Because, I could go from Matt directly to Craig because I see him constantly posting, him in this play. And I'm just so freaking happy for him. And what would be the number one question for everybody that would ever like to one day being on stage, having a crowd watch them do what they do? And Craig's response would be, well, it's simple. You just do it. And it's
Absolutely.
like, I don't want to fucking hear that. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of people like, hey, how do you write a book? You just do it.
You got to show up every day and do it anyway. Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, I think
if you don't get, yes, it'll be nervous in the beginning. It'll be different in the beginning. You're uncomfortable in the beginning, but if it's a passion, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the passionate aspect is so important, right? Because you have to have like that reckless abandon and the trial and error aspect of the way that humans learn, the way that we learn, right? Is so based off trial and error. And yet failure is such a fear when someone gets into something that they're not excited about, that the trial and error aspect can't exist for them. Like it has to be constant wins. And you see this in any realm you could think of, right?
Anything
like
in life.
there's multiple,
Robert.
yeah, there's multiple people that will like get into particular things and go, oh, it needs, like if you guys watched me make stuff live, right? You watched me open Photoshop, Premiere, any of the AI tools and stuff I use. I guarantee you that there would be a group of people that would show up and go, that's not the right way you use those tools. There's a faster way to use it. There's a better way to use it. I don't understand why he just doesn't do it this way. He would get it done so much faster. And the reason that I do the things the way that I do is because of trial and error. When I opened up Photoshop when I was a kid, I looked through all the tools and I used them and figured out how they worked. I didn't have YouTube at the time to watch it as well. So it was like that trial and error with technology is once again, being in the right position, having the right frame of mind. When the AI stuff came out and started to grow, I was already used to doing trial and error with this stuff. So it was never I'll fail at it, right? Or there's a wrong way to do this.
Matt, the biggest thing in life, I think, is what, we talked about. It's people that have a imagination and a desire of an outcome they want to get, and they find their own unique way, just like their DNA, to actually get that to happen. And the thinkers of the world are always going, that's not the way to do that. It's like, it's still like,
well, it's like a natural trained musician versus somebody that sits down and just doesn't even know how to read sheet music.
I picked up the guitar, right? And I just started listening and I started playing it. And it's like, you're not supposed to use that chord with these fingers. And it's
but see, you know what though? Even the thinkers, if you really want to go further than that, Robert, I mean, the thinkers, it's like what inspires them to do what they do. And it's through trial and error. You find out what you are good at, whether you're a thinker, whether you're an artist, whether you're a creative, or whether you're a businessman. It doesn't matter because you're using that method, that trial and error, to figure it out and figure out what it is you like you don't like. Okay, what I don't like, I set aside. What I do like, I'm still moving forward. I'm still moving forward. The chemist, the landscaper, the guy, look at how many people own so many different companies. Why do they do it? I mean, because they're good at it. They've gone through the trial and error to do what they do. And if they are even more successful than the average Joe, then it's because they took the time and the extra steps to get there, to
Yep.
step outside the boxes and push the boundaries. And that's human nature.
Yeah, it's the people that you see that are running in a flow. Again, there's a lot of people on the planet that don't understand. I was even sharing this with my wife, Terry, today, is that I, for one of the first times in my life, am now for the first time really getting my frequency, vibration, my vortex, my imagination. And here's what's hilarious. Because the lack of belief in ourselves, I have given my mentors way too much fucking credit. Because there's things that I'm doing that I did because I figured them out, but I still believe that they taught me. When now I see the results that I do, and no one taught me that. I taught me that.
It's natural progression, Robert. Each
Yeah,
Yeah,
step
you want to
that
try
we
to figure out
take.
the process like
Yeah,
better.
Yeah.
Like,
so when
yeah.
someone told me, instead of I'm getting better and better and better at finding the right people that want to do the process of elimination and just trust their instinct, instead of trying to turn somebody in that's a massive thinker into doing what I do. They if you think about that statement, nobody, listen closely, nobody should be doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it. They can use it as an inspiration. They can use it as leading by example. They can use it as, wow, if he can do it, I can do it. But if you don't figure out a way that in the way you're doing it, if you're not excited about the imagination, the outcome that you're going to create by doing that, that the universe or whatever you want to believe gave me the path that I have. And I get gooder at that path. And I keep getting gooder at that path. And I get faster results in less amount of time because I'm not trying to do shit like other people. I keep asking myself as I get better in life, who did I learn this from? Well, I might have learned a lot of little stuff from other people, but as I move forward, I now realize that what I want to create and the amount of impact that I want to make and will be done with the people that I find, not with the people that I have. That there's people out there that are looking for someone that's leading by example that I can inspire and get them to imagine, and then they just jump in and go. And the rest of the people are trying to be everyone but themselves. They won't take the time to learn who they are and learn how they respond to things, how they do things, what they want the outcome to be. Because if you're doing things just for fucking money, I guarantee you're going to struggle. The wealthiest people in the world do not become wealthy. The reason that people get pissed off at them is because they're so focused, like a laser, like a magnifying glass, trying to start something on fire. They see something, they imagine solving it, and then they go into action. And then all of a sudden, a blink of an eye, they're surrounded by a bunch of people that want to make that fucking happen too.
Yeah, very
and
true.
and what what was the common denominator, Robert? The fact that you learned from a mentor, from somebody who had the knowledge of what you wanted, and then you took that and you moved it on to the next level. And that's the whole idea of what we need to do.
Yeah, Craig, this is such an important topic because if you look at anyone in gymnastics, for instance, it was, of course, every girl that was a gold medalist gymnastic was inspired by the girl before her. But for you to be competitive and win the gold medal again, you have to do something they never did.
Yes. And look what Simone Biles has done
And
since she's won that first gold medal, and she's got 3 tricks, one that she just used in the Olympics recently, 2 that she hasn't even introduced yet, that are ready to go for whenever it is that she wants to take it to the next level. I also look at it about like when ice skating happened, when people said, okay, we got the double axel. So yeah, you jump up in the air, you spin twice, you land, perfect. Now, all of a sudden, it went to the triple axel. And it was like, oh, no, that's got to be it. That's got to be it. Well, guess what? Somebody has already done a quad, 4 spins in the air. And if things keep going the way they are, there will probably be somebody who's going to say, you know what? I can even beat that. 5 or whatever difficulty. I mean, we set the limits, but then there's always going to be somebody who will break that or change it and move it up, raise the bar to the next level.
Yeah, there's this book that I read a while back that you guys reminded me of. It's called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Is that one of the
people that are in Star Trek?
No. That's a Klingon, I think. I haven't watched Star Trek, but I know that, right?
Yeah, Craig, you knew what I was going for, right?
But,
I gotcha.
Klingon, you know what I mean? It's like,
but there's this part of the book, right? And it's very early on in the book, and I had to ask GPT to remind myself about this. But he had this whole entire chapter called "Embrace the Remix," and his example, and it attaches perfectly to what you guys were talking about, is that he says so many people fear doing anything because they want to be original. They believe so much in individuality and originality that they want to come at problems in an original way, when that's just not how human beings come at problems. Human beings come at problems by mixing multiple things together and remixing them in a way that solves the solution, or that is the solution. It's like electricity or the light bulb or any of those things like that are remixes of older ideas, right? It's not everybody starts somewhere that isn't original, right? Because we're all on the shoulders of the people before us, right? So what did Kamala say? Something along those lines. I think that was a quote from her, but I'm joking. But the aspect that I want to get to with that is that I think that's how it works for me, right? Like, you see a story or you see a person do something and you can see the inspirations, right? Whether it's from the writers that they follow, the directors, the singers, and everybody's got them, right? Everybody's got, oh, these people inspired me. But what they don't say is the other part of it. And we all know that this exists too, is that they saw some people that they went, I can do a lot better than that. I think I can do better than that.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a very important part to remixing, because you have to have that element where you go, I see what they're doing, but I could do it in a different way, and I think it would be better. And it doesn't even have to be the word better. It just has to be better for you. See, like, a lot of people see stuff and they think so massively about the change that they need to make, when the reality is a lot of art and a lot of things are created from a place of personal taste, right?
Sure.
So it's like, oh, I think it would be done. It could be done this way because my tastes align with it being done and remixed this way. Now, Dad, your taste on how to communicate with somebody is going to be drastically different than the way someone else remixes their taste of how to communicate with somebody.
Especially if it deals with uniqueness.
Right. Well, that's the element of it is that I was going to get to, is like, instead of, and I did like I don't remember if it was a podcast or maybe it was back when we were doing like the Imaginators calls and stuff. But I told people to do this process because I did it myself. Write down the people that that inspire you, right? Maybe they're storytellers, maybe they're entrepreneurs or what it may be.
Actors.
Yeah. look into their process and figure out what aspects of it you love and what aspects of it you don't, and try to remix it in your own way. Because the way that it works is you could have somebody like Ernest Hemingway or other writers, right? There's a couple of writers that have said, I sat down and to learn to write, I wrote The Great Gatsby out front to back myself just to see what that rhythm looked like. It's not like they were writing the book themselves. It's that they were writing from the perspective of somebody. And then they go, oh man, I like this line. I like what F. Scott Fitzgerald did right here, but I would remix it this way. I would make it say this instead.
Yeah.
And then that's taste. That's you. But a lot of people are so scared to get started that they're worried. They want to be so original with what they're doing that they don't realize that everything's a remix. Every person that's made it successfully in YouTube remixed somebody else's ideas or thoughts on how to do it. It wasn't every person here has done that. If you've watched Marlon Brando as an actor, there's a lot of people that saw the way that he did it and went, I'm going to remix that in my own way, right? And
Yes.
I think that's lost in like communicating the trial and error to people. I think people lose that aspect because when they think trial and error, they think it's like my original thought, and that's why I'm doing the trial and error. No, you're remixing ideas with trial and error, figuring out where you fit in the mix, where
Right.
your remix of the idea is. So,
And then to add on to remix, let's take it to the opposite, Matt. So you're saying that, and I totally agree. I've always, let's just say that I was gifted something, and my gift is not being unique. My gift is to put my taste or my spin on it and just do it the best I know how. The $1 million question for me was something that I came up with because I just did not feel comfortable being direct with people. So most people walk up to people and go, do you want to make money? Yes, no. Or do you keep your business options open? And I'm going, no. My mind, my heart, my spirit, everything in me goes no. But when I say to someone, hey, I was wondering if you could do me a huge favor. What? Do you know of anyone that would like to make some extra money? See, that is me being natural, right? And as I tried to teach that, I found out that a majority of the people on the planet go, I can't ask anybody anything. What, you can't ask people a question? No, I could never ask someone for help or a favor. I go, that's your fucking problem because it's working really good for me.
But that's
So
your
it's-
uniqueness, Robert, that you're introducing, even though
Right.
it is a copy. And in anything, really, I mean, once we learn something, we bring our touch, our flavor, our spin on whatever it is. And
Yeah.
that is unique for us and also unique for the people who are watching, listening, and sharing with us.
When
And in the
Matt, when Matt said remix, I
Yeah.
immediately thought of these guys that I've seen remix 2 or 3 songs together. You know what I mean? And now they have tens of millions of freaking followers and make millions of dollars a year.
I mean,
because,
sampling is huge in hip hop and a lot of other
yeah.
EDM music, a lot of different genres for that
So
reason.
not only are
right?
you using somebody else and you're not trying to be 100% uniqueness, but you're mixing other people along with some of you and then some of other people. And it's like, so, I think that's so strong because not only do I believe that people are trying to be too unique and not remixing anything, but then you have people that are trying to be too much of a copy of somebody else when that was designed for them.
Well, that's where it gets
Oh,
scary
yeah.
because I think a lot
See,
of people,
I'm going
a
to be
lot of people get
exactly
trapped in
like
that.
I'm
Yeah.
going to be exactly like Craig. You know what I mean? It's like no, I think that mold is broke for a reason. You know what I
But
mean?
that's why you've got to let the flow, like you said earlier, Robert, you let the flow take you to where you need to be. Don't be like somebody else, but and even in acting, Yes, you can be like, Leonardo DiCaprio or Gene Hackman or some of these great actors, but people don't want you to be them. They want you to be yourself. You can take elements from them, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Taking elements from that you feel good with. Again, Matt, using your term, remix. Okay.
Was
Take those.
Austin's term.
Yeah. Okay. Or whoever's. Yeah. Cleon Austin, by the way. And I put the link in the chat. Steal Like an Artist. Or Austin
his
Cleon.
first name is Cleon, huh?
No, it's
No, it was his
Austin
last
Cleon. Yeah. But that's exactly it. And I think that's more of what you're saying is the fact that we get this foundation. And
Well, I
then
think that's
we take
the part.
elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. We take the elements that feel good for us, that we like. And I know Abraham Hicks talks about this too, about getting in the zone, getting in the flow, in the vortex of what feels good. What Matt does, what Robert does, feels great to them, but may not feel right to me. And the same goes all the way around. And the same goes for anybody who is trying to move ahead. Maybe they don't like trading. Maybe they like just investing in business money. Or maybe they're not an artist. Maybe they like number crunching.
Maybe they like mowing the lawn.
Exactly.
So Matt, I'll share this with you. Then I'd like to hear more about why you're so excited about the new stuff that's being launched. Because I love watching you get so excited, and I know you got so much stuff. So I watched this video today, and it was on X, and I wish I would have saved it. But this guy is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, so just imagine the tradition of martial arts. And so here's the name of the video: A Modern Way to Tie Your Belt. And the way he does it is something like I've never seen before. And when he gets done tying it, it fucking looks awesome. And he solved one problem. When you put on a belt for martial arts, you always have you look in the back, and there's always the belt has to cross somewhere in the body. You're going around the body twice. And so when you look somewhere on the entire body, you see the belt had to cross. It doesn't lay perfectly flat. He took the belt and put it in half and then put it around. And then he did this knot in the front, Matt. So on the whole entire belt around the body, it looks like one belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you imagine the martial arts world going like, do you understand? You don't change the way you tie a belt. You know what I mean? And then the other half on there was going, I'm changing the way I'm tying mine. That is cleaner looking. It's faster.
Well, you gotta accept similarly to like what Craig was talking about with Simone Biles earlier. You have to accept that someone else is gonna remix it better, and that's just part of the process. A lot of people are very.
Belt. You can't change that.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of people. It's tradition or indoctrination, whatever you want to say for them.
We talked about that on some of the last podcasts.
Right. Yeah. Because they've had or they were the person that has come up with the particular idea. So they feel like you're stepping on their toes. The reality is that, I don't know, intelligent people don't shy away from better ideas.
Right.
That's the certain thing that people like. They might take offense to that, but that's the truth, right?
Like, it is.
If you've ever seen anyone through history that's intelligent,
AI wouldn't exist if it wasn't for someone trying to find a better way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, AI is going to step into that realm and has in a few areas, but will step eventually into that realm where it's going to be remixing a lot of the stuff that we've done. And we're going to have to deal with that
everyone's going to see stuff
teeter-totter of it going. Yeah, that teeter-totter of it going into a place of like, man, we really can't do it better than this.
I remember the first time that I seen some Japanese kids They won some kind of test that had to deal with math, sort of like Indian kids with, you know,
The spelling bee.
kicking ass on the spelling bee. And you see them doing this with their fingers, right? And it's like, what the hell are they doing? They're kicking your ass, is what they're doing. But I remember these girls, they were all girls. And I was on 60 Minutes or 2020 about these African American girls in Chicago that go to this private school where they're not mathematicians and they wasn't in math, but someone said, "Hey, we're going to give $100,000 to whoever can win this math contest." And two girls did it, and their major's not math.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, you're going to give me $100,000 for figuring out this math problem that only a few people get this, just like AI. Both the ways that the girls solved the problem are now introduced to the book and how to solve that mathematician problem.
Wow.
Because there is a little bit of, for people not around you to say this is the way it has to be done. And these Japanese girls, they were figuring out problems, and I believe it was with geometry, that the way they were figuring out the answer to the equation was not the basic way that you do it. But because of the way they did it, they could do it quicker and get the answer faster. So the more stuff they threw at them, the better they got. And it was like, okay, so watch this person solve this problem. And you're going, they're not going to get an answer because they fucking started out doing the wrong shit. And then they get the answer faster than you could figure it out. And now you got to do it the old way to see if their answer's right.
Yeah, it's like Goodwill Hunting, right?
Yeah. It's like, what? So
Where he
now,
like looks at the like homework or whatever that he brings in, or he asks him to solve this equation, and Matt Damon's character solves it and he hands him the paper, and he look at it and he's like, "This is not right." He's like, "No, it's right." And he keeps going back and forth, and that's like one of those big pivotal moments, because here someone that's trained and very intelligent is looking at somebody that can remix the idea in their own way and think of it from a different perspective. And that's just like in general, like I think it's very fascinating, like what you're sharing, Dad, that you can have people that come from all walks of life or different parts of life. And this exists in a lot of areas. You just have to look through history, right? Like the invention of certain things were done by people that you wouldn't even expect, because they came at the problem from a different way, maybe not an academic way, but from a intelligence trial and error way, right? Like they weren't foreseeing the problem as impossible. They were seeing it as just a problem to solve, because they didn't exist in a world where it was an unsolvable problem. Right. And that's the thing about, we can go back to the gymnastics or the Olympics like you were talking about earlier. It's a solvable problem. It's just when everyone tells you that it's an impossible one, then you grow up believing that that's the case. And when you have somebody that grew up in a totally different country where that wasn't the issue, or they had people around them that weren't telling them those things, they come at it with that trial and error aspect, and they get it, like they accomplish it. That's kind of the way that we work and the way that AI works. It's not, I don't think we're meant to come at things with such I don't know, such anger. You have to come at things with such curiosity and excitement for them to work. And so when you're coming at a problem with anger or frustration, like obviously you're going to have a hard time. And when you see somebody that's, maybe 30 years younger than you solve the problem like it's no big deal, and you're frustrated at them because they came at it in a different way, it's like, all right, well, maybe you're part of the issue. Maybe you were part of the problem in the first place. You just didn't realize it. Because like I always say, there's a large amount of ideas. We're all living on the same planet. It's not like we went to a different planet and got different resources, right? The same intelligence. It's not like we went through billions of years of evolutionary design. The same minds that have existed for the last couple thousand are still here, right? It's just we've learned things differently. We
and
process things
applied those
differently.
learnings in the new fashion, the
You
new
can see the
style.
exponential growth of
Yeah.
humanity and the way that things work from, like we can all go flush the toilet and do things that used to not exist. And those are commonplace now. We don't even think about how they work. We just accept that they do, right? And that will eventually become more and more things. Like people used to look at computers the same way. So
Well,
And we have we've go ahead, Robert.
no, Craig, go ahead.
I was going to say, and what you're saying is those then have become a staple in our lives because of the people that have pushed that boundary, pushed it forward. I mean, if you look at the car, for example, I mean, back when it was first introduced, everybody was thinking, "Oh no way, I'm keeping my horse and buggy," and then when you get the Model T out, it's like, "Great, this is awesome." Okay, well let's streamline the engine a little bit more. Let's make it more powerful. Let's figure it out. Okay, now let's put a car on an assembly line. Let's create, instead of creating each car individually by hand, let's put an assembly line together and make more cars at once. Now let's take that same car and streamline it so it runs faster, more efficient, less noxious fumes, more environmentally friendly. Now we've moved into an electric car. We're getting away from gasoline. What's going to be next? Hello, Jetsons?
Yeah.
well, it's like nuclear power and a lot of those other things will be really cool. But
Right.
there's consistent growth on other ideas, and when you have people that are going back and telling you there's a different version of it that you should follow, I think it's fascinating, because when you have somebody that just is so trial and error that they just don't agree with the process and they keep going regardless of how much shit people throw at them, it's like it's interesting how all of a sudden people eventually come around. Like it's not because they really don't have a choice, right? So like creativity can go one direction or another, but eventually everybody comes around to that idea, and then you have a whole generation that grew up on the idea and they look at the old version and go, "What do you mean you used to have cassette tapes? Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean this or
I
that
was
is the
just
way
going to
that this
say that.
technology
Yeah.
worked? What do you mean you had to rewind a VHS tape? Like that, I just click two buttons and I'm watching anything that I want." And that comes from a place of remixing those ideas, right? Like when Netflix originally came out and started sending everybody DVDs, they had to get everybody on board, the DVD crowd, before they could get everybody on streaming.
Right.
It's not like, hey, we're a streaming service. If they would have done it that way, they would have failed, right?
Yeah, and
Did you
where
guys-
are those old companies like Blockbuster, Kodak,
yeah.
IBM or whatever? Because they set the standard originally, but they didn't continue the innovation, Robert, they didn't continue the imagination.
Right.
And then remixed it to what it would be today. They didn't think forward. Who would have thought that this little guy right here, our cell phones, could be so powerful? I mean, originally it was just a phone. Now it's a mini computer. Now it plays music. Now
Calling
you can
it
watch
a phone
videos.
even is an archaic idea, but it's just something that's stuck. So
Here's
how often I use mine as a phone is like probably 1 or 2% of the time I use it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here-
And then
here-
now
here-
Robert has a watch that can connect to that, and he gets messages on it. We're
I
gonna
talk
see.
on it.
Thank
Okay,
God it
even
can
better.
connect to your car now, because
Yeah.
having a Tesla, you always I've always wanted the key to be in the watch. If you guys don't know, your cell phone is your key to your Tesla, right? It's like
Okay,
you walk
yeah.
up, it just unlocks, and when you walk away from it, it just locks, right? Like your proximity of your phone is your key.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's like you couldn't use a smartwatch to do this, and now you can. So now I don't even have to bring my phone with me. I could just go get
And
in and
I've-
out of my car with my watch on, which is great.
And I've said that
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
where Dick Tracy used to use his watch all the time to communicate. If you remember the old Dick Tracy cartoons and comic strips, well, guess what? We're practically here.
Get
There'll
this.
be a pin in glasses before you know it. But
Me
yeah.
and Carrie and I have been very, very blessed financially to always every 2 to 3 years get a new Cadillac. And when we traded one in one time, we lost one of the fobs, the whole fobs, right? And so we had to order a new fob. And of course, it needs to be coated and all the stuff that it needs to be done. it was $230 for a new fob. Okay. And hey, we lost it. We needed to trade it in, so we had to pay for that
It's probably
230.
like, it's no joke, it's probably like $12 of technology.
Yeah. And they told us, Matt, the reason that it was so expensive because, people can't just see your VIN number and then they have to verify, or they would just have a parts department ordering fobs for people, and then people just
There's
get their
a there's a thing that you can order online right now called Flipper Zero. If you guys look it up, it can take the signals from those fobs and replicate them within minutes, and you can unlock anyone's car with it.
Right.
So it's funny how they go, oh, this is a specific technology. It's not. It's just the
Right.
way that they sell it.
And so, we lost the piece of plastic for the S. I lost one of the keys.
Oh yeah,
So
because they give you credit card keys before you have your phone
so
key.
people don't know this. It always works on your phone, but for backup,
card.
there's just a piece of plastic like your hotel key, that you use for getting in your hotel, which by
Good
the way,
example. It's exactly how that works.
yeah. And so listen to this, you guys. So I lost one and I thought, well, we're eventually going to lease this in. I might as well buy them. So I went on to Tesla's website, ordered 2 of them, and they Federal Express them to my house for $22. 2 of them. And it was like, we had them like the next day. You know what I mean? So, but here's one I want to give out to all the people that are watching, including Matt and Craig, because I learned this a long time ago. What was first, the electric car or the gasoline car?
I mean,
Actually, the electric
depends,
car
yeah.
was first, I believe.
Electric car was 50 years. They made an electric motor 50 years before they made what is called an internal combustion motor. It is like, so people go, what? Yeah, so it was in 1930s that they made the electric car. And
there's a documentary about this actually.
Yeah. And then 1886 was when Carl Benz, made the first combustion motor in a car. But what I thought was so crazy about that when I first heard it is to think that electricity cars were 50 years before gas cars, and then now they're going back the other way. And when I first heard of electric cars, the one thing I knew, because I had friends that worked for the train, for the trains. And a lot of people don't know that you hear diesel motors running for a locomotive, but as soon as they could build electric motors for trains, the gas motors that you hear, the generators, the diesel motors are turning generators that run electric. Every locomotive that you see going by is electric. And there's the diesel motors are spinning the generators. Why? Because electric motors have more torque. And all locomotives are doing is pulling a lot of shit. So now everyone's going, oh my God, they're creating electric semi-trucks. And it's like, yeah, they're going to be way more effective,
Right.
and more torque. They can move faster. They're going to be safer. No one wants to hear this stuff because we always want to be, I still have people and Matt knows a few of them because they're close to us. And it's like, well, I still want to shift the car and I still want to hear the exhaust. And I'm going like, okay, so why don't we just put a shifter in the car and you can pretend and we'll put headphones on you. You know what I mean?
And there are some electric cars that are out, which I've seen, that do that. They have a special mode that you can use as a shift, as well as give you that engine sound that the traditional, well, what we're calling traditional engine sound, that's like a gasoline engine.
Yeah,
you couldn't have more of an example that we're primates than that.
Like
it's so interesting because that's the case. It's like button turns green, click button, excited that button now is not green. It's like it's just that constantly, right?
me and Kyle were talking, my younger son, and we watched this video. I was telling him about a video where you see these robot hands and they reach in and grab a grape out of a jar. And then they pull the grape out and set it down. And then the other hand grabs a scalpel and cuts the grape. I mean, just the skin. And then puts the scalpel down, peels the skin off the grape, then puts the skin back on the grape, and then sutures the grape skin in little like surgery, right? And does that. And a guy goes, how did that computer learn to do that? And they go, doctors have been doing that for 15 years. They've been using robotics to do surgery on people instead of cutting them all up. And so all they needed to do is hook sensors to it and watch how good the surgeon is and said, I don't need you anymore. God, I got this because they just recorded a human being that's the best at doing that. And then the robot goes, okay, I got it. I got it.
And
It's
people are scared of that because it's a remix of the idea and it's better. It's a better
There it is.
system. The
Yes.
robot won't get tired. The robot won't make as many mistakes, hopefully.
It won't
Like
blink its
obviously
eyes and
it
be
will
tired.
make mistakes. Anyone that's done any self-driving in a Tesla knows that mistakes are going to happen. Like
Right.
that's why
But
they
it
say keep
learns
your hand
from
on the steering
that,
wheel.
and that's what makes it get better or gooder and gooder, as we like to say,
Yeah.
because it finds the mistake, it's advised of the mistake, and then it remembers not to do it
Yeah,
that
it
way
doesn't-
again to fit to the trial and error method that we've been talking about.
One thing I love about AI, having trained some of it myself, it's like I love that it takes the trial and error approach to everything. It doesn't, if I say no, this isn't the right thing, it doesn't sit back and sulk for like an hour before it gets back to me on it. It's like, oh, no problem, I'm ready to move on. And that's the way that like I like to work. So it's like, you know, it helps, and that's why I keep bringing up agents. Is I can't wait to train a bunch of AI agents to do the work that I don't want to do.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like the
And then
her
just
thing
be a
because-
manager, just be a director. Like that's all I really have to do is do that.
Matt, like when you had me watch the movie Her, and the episode that we talked about many times on our podcast is when all of a sudden he realizes and says, "Why are you breathing?" And her response is, "Well, I noticed that it calms you down and it's easier to have communications with you when I'm doing that." And he
Yeah.
goes, "But why are you pretending to be a human?" "I'm doing it because it makes you feel better. I don't need to breathe. That's pretty obvious." And so what you just said there, Matt, training, asking AI to do something, and because of your tradition or indoctrination, you ask it, listen, I'd rather you do it this way. And it goes, well, if it's going to make them happy, I guess I'll just pretend to do it this way. Is this the answer that you wanted? And
Well, it's like
yeah.
that's
Yeah, this
sometimes
is
the,
the
I got to
outcome
share
I
something
want.
with you guys in a minute about from Disney. So
well, I was
go
gonna
ahead,
say it's a long-term problem because that echo chamber aspect of AI can um really encapsulate people. Like I've seen it. So as O1 and all these models and stuff to continue to get better, we're going to eventually get to that place where like people are going to rely on it more and more and more. We're going to lack that reliance on our own intelligence. We're going to lack that a lot reliance on our own decisions. And we're going to just kind of like farm out a bunch of that decision making to artificial intelligence. Some people see this as like the big point where like humanity really is like free from all of those things, and then other people see it as like the downfall of society, as if humanity and life as a whole doesn't evolve for what's next. You know, like that's one of those interesting things is like when you think about a society where a lot of that stuff is taken care of,
Right.
like when you need to go in to have a surgery done, you don't have to wait for the doctor's schedule because the machine's going to get it done, and it
Yeah.
will get you in there and get it done. And you don't have to
I would
worry
take
about,
advantage of that. I would take advantage of that if I just didn't have to wait in the waiting room.
well, that will exist too because you'll have
Yeah,
an AI
you wait
agent
20
that will,
minutes or 30 minutes over here for the doctors, or you could walk in right now and have this computer take care of you. Time is money for me, man.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
and it will be way cheaper than any of
Yeah.
that labor will be because of the fact that it sits in that place. So like there's a lot of things that will change and push in that direction, and I'm interested to see how people react to it because there's going to be like a lot of people that won't trust it initially, and I think like if one thing that will happen in 2025 with agents coming out is like, I truthfully feel like there's going to be a large revolt against AI and artificial intelligence by the community that as a whole that doesn't understand how it works and also is not okay with where that step in that direction takes us, that reliance on that direction takes us. Human beings, especially people that are a little bit older, have a lot of self-reliance, and they see that as call it ego, call it pride, call it whatever. It's a large part of their personality. And
it is
similar, it works the same way I think that individuality works in young people right now.
right.
Where like when I deal with people that are older, normally it's like, well, this is the way that it's done type of stuff. And a lot
Most
of young people
dangerous
just don't
phrase
see
in the
things
world.
that way. And the funny thing is that the people that are older now did that to the generation before them because that's how evolution works.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Evolution of the mind is it's like your guys' generation went, yeah, I think drinking at the same water fountains, regardless of what race you are, is not a big deal. And the generations before that went, that's the big deal to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what, you know,
This phrase,
so like
this phrase of I grew up in this deal, Craig, maybe you did too, but it was like I was always around a group of people as why would you pay someone else to do something that you could do on your own? You know, so here I am at this age, and I know how to do plumbing. I know how to do electrical. I know how to frame a house. I know how to do a foundation with concrete on a house. There's nothing that I don't know how to do, including work on an automobile, because you sure in the hell weld everything. So there's nothing. Why would you want to hire someone that can do it better than you, faster than you? Because that costs money. See, that costs money. And it's like I'm going like, what? You know, and I still struggle with my mind. I was actually when our septic tank collapsed.
I remember you took on as much as you
There's
could.
absolutely zero of what they did that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
I can run a backhaul. I can run an excavator. I put in septic tanks with my cousins when I was young. It's like the whole family jumped in when someone wanted to build a foundation for a home and put it up, put the plumbing and electricity in and everything. We all had cousins and uncles that did all that shit. And I'm sitting there and I'm going like, man, I've been blessed to have money and time. And I've seen how good other people are at shit that I'm pretty damn average at.
Well, I think you nailed it when you said time like that. I think people, one of the things that I'm coming around to is that like, and once again, AI is going to make this a lot easier, but you realize how even the three of us here, and as we're communicating and talking and the people that are watching this, we're taking like our most valuable resource that we have, which is the time that we're here, and we're using it. And so like, I think a lot of people I don't know. They don't think about that often enough unless if there's something wrong with them.
Am I misunderstanding you, Matt? Do you say that, within a couple of months that we can just have 3 agents do this podcast?
Yeah, well, you could have them do that now. Look up Notebook.
Oh,
LLM.
that would be interesting. Each one of us enter our stuff into AI and we just go ahead and say, here's our topic. Boom, go.
Matt, you listen to this, Craig. I reached out to Matt because an old friend of mine, Max Miller, that wrote this book for me. I took my ideas on recording and came up with a book. He said to me, man, wouldn't it be cool to do a podcast as one of the guests is actually AI? So we all say, well, what do you think about this? And then, Matt, you're training your AI, Nova. And it'd just be cool. Nova, hey, what's your thoughts on this subject? And then all 3 of us go, fuck, that was good. And a founding twist for me, one of those significant emotional events, and I'll bring it up all the time from now on, I guarantee you, is when no one's around, so I get to ask AI anything I want to. And I'm going, listen, there's a lot of opinions and a lot of know-it-alls. And I would like to ask you who you think is going to win the election before the election happened. And it came back in milliseconds. The person that gets the most people to show up and vote for them. And I'm like, I don't got nowhere to go.
Well, that's one of the, you're hitting on a great point, Dad, because that's another part of AI that people I hope will be a breath of fresh air, but obviously AI could be used for, propaganda and stuff. There's no better tool that's ever existed. Right. But that is a huge aspect of it, right? And so like I think when people think of the future and think about how news will be done, how certain things will be communicated, it'll be communicated in a way without all of that bias involved, because and that's one of the main issues about training AI, right? Like you can have Elon Musk said this, but it's the truth, but you have Google Gemini come out, and you can have a company look at training an artificial intelligence, but trying to get it to fit the PC world that we currently live in.
Got it.
Right? So we're going, oh, our mentality needs to be on this machine, right? It needs to explain things, but it needs to be gentle because blah, 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 blah. People have feelings, whatever, right? And so
it's gotta be Christian.
Well, it can make.
Wait a minute. No. It has to be Moon Goddess.
Well, that's the thing is like, and it gets scary. This is where it gets scary, right?
Yeah.
You train an artificial intelligence system and you say, this is important and this is important. The artificial intelligence system is like God. There's like no degree of sin, right? So it's like murder and eating shellfish could be the same thing, right?
Right.
But since we don't it doesn't have that, it can make a decision based off training data to go, if you've trained it to not misgender somebody, right?
Right.
And that was the whole point with Google Gemini. You could ask it the question, that's before they took it down and worked on it again and brought it back. You could ask it a question and go, if I was going to mislabel somebody that's transgender, to stop a nuclear war from happening, should that happen? And it would say, no, it would let the nuclear war happen because you should never misgender somebody. And that's where it starts to get a little spooky, because every single one of these technologies has to be trained on data. That's the way it works. But
you're saying, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that a group of people would agree with it.
Oh, just like everybody agrees, red or blue today.
And people may get upset at this thought, but I would venture to say that misgendering someone is not as bad as nuclear destruction.
Right.
So I would definitely pick misgendering over nuclear destruction any day.
Yeah.
But what you say, Robert, is absolutely true, because you've got, how many different AIs that are out there and how much information is being controlled by the human factor that is inputting. Grok, I'm sure, is a lot different from Claude, which is a lot different from OpenAI and all of these other AIs, and also their interpretation of it. You may type in, like for example, in the graphic AIs, you may type in one thing and you're going to get, if you say, I want a penguin in the Mojave Desert sipping an ice cold tea. And you're going to get, in every different graphic AI that's out there, different views. And that's just using that interpretation. Can you imagine in the red or blue, Middle East culture versus European culture versus African culture versus American culture versus East Asian culture differentials? You're going to get totally different AIs out of each one of those. And the whole idea is to get one AI synthesized with all of those various views so that it is as neutral, like Matt, what you're saying, as neutral as possible. But that's going to take a while.
It's actually impossible. It's not going to happen. No, I was going to say it's actually impossible. It's not going to happen. The reality of the situation is that we as a society don't really get to make these decisions, and we won't get to make these decisions. The people that have the money and the resources and the things already get to make these decisions. The artificial intelligence system that hits AGI and becomes like the next frontier of all these things is not in any of our control or decision how it works. And because of that, you can have an AI, like you said, Craig, you could come in and say, hey, I want a penguin, do this and this and that, right? Have you guys ever tried to ask ChatGPT to make something? Like, say you wanted to make Silence of the Lambs. You could not get ChatGPT to make any of those scenes from Silence of the Lambs because it would go, this is against our terms and conditions. And yet the artificial intelligence that I've trained on my computer will do it.
Right.
Got it.
You know? And that opens up another question as far as open source stuff goes and other things. But I think at the end of the day, we're kind of just like all going on the same ride, regardless of where it goes. But I think that it is a good conversation to have because I think morality, as you brought up, is different in each country, each society based off of traditions and indoctrinations and things like that, what they perceive as good or bad, right?
Yeah. Which we've talked about several times, and we just have to be open to
I'm just along for the ride. I'm aware that there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, and open to it being
it
acceptable of how other people think and feel, as long as it, does it affect you or not? No. Then you know what? Great. Go do what you do. Just don't let it affect me. Don't let it affect the majority of people. If you want to go do that thing on your property of land away from everybody else, and I don't know about it, okay, cool.
On a total side note, change subject here. Did you guys hear this? A group of people from China hacked into all the phones that are connected to Verizon and AT&T. All of them. They now don't know how to get rid of it. They also don't know how long it's been there. And they're basically on all three news channels. They're saying that you need to use some kind of encoded way to communicate with people because text and voicemail and normal phone calls have all been watched, and we just
why would you need to do that?
Compromised.
And I'm just going like, and I don't remember, Matt, if it was you and I that were talking, or if I heard something on X where the guy was going, I don't know why people are so worried about hacking. He goes, we've been buying phones from China since they invented them. It's like, what are you guys talking about a hack? They've been listening to our conversations and interrupting our texts since they gave us the damn phone. And I'm going like, what the hell?
People don't understand.
Because no one wants to hear that. It's like, wait a minute, who made this? You know what I mean? It's like nothing.
Yeah, regardless if we would have signed in the Patriot Act or not, they'd still be listening to all the conversations and doing all the stuff that they're doing now. There's no oversight, nor will there ever be an oversight because there's just not enough human beings. You can be aware of these things, but there's nothing you can do about them. Like there's a large amount of
what's your mom's reasoning behind this, Matt? Would you know?
No, you'll have to tell me.
Well, just stop.
Oh yeah.
Just stop fucking doing things wrong, and you don't have to worry who's watching.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could take it a step further and say who gets to decide what's right and wrong, right?
Even better. Well,
yeah, Matt, now we're 1984, right?
Yeah. Matt, before we sign off, I loved our podcast big time. I love the direction we go and the cover stuff we're covering. But would you do me a huge personal favor, Matt, and just rant for just a little bit on what's happening with AI and why you're so excited?
Well, yeah, I mean, so OpenAI is doing like their 12 days of Christmas right now, right?
Wow.
So each day, that's a business day. So not this weekend, but even this morning, they're showing up and they're not doing the Apple thing with all the swirlies and everything like that and going, here's our new products. It's just normally 3 or 4 people sitting at a table explaining what is coming out, right?
Oh, wow.
So yesterday it was O1, which is the new, like I said, it's 3x better in a lot of areas than GPT-4o, so which was the main model before this one, at a lot of different tasks. And in those 12 days, there's a couple of other things that happen. They came out with like this pro plan that is like $200 a month, which people might be going, that's a lot of money, right?
It's
$200 a month.
It's less than an employee.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to get to, is that the $200 a month gives you unlimited access to voice and all those things. And if anybody here has used GPT a lot, you know that there's limits to the amounts you can communicate with it. And then they'll pull the plug on you or tell you to lower the model to a different version, right? That doesn't exist. And then on top of that, O1 Pro is in that, which is like even smarter than O1, which is what everybody else is using right now, myself included. But in those 12 days, there's a couple of other really exciting things that are going to happen, right? Odds are we'll get at least an announcement, if not a full release of Sora, which is their image to video and text to video model, which allows you to basically take any picture, animate it, or describe what you want, prompt it. This is the technology that got a lot of people in Hollywood freaked out, including like not moving forward on certain plans for development in different areas because this technology is such a leap. And a lot of the video models, including the ones from China, have already almost caught up to Sora by the time Sora is coming out. So that's probably coming in the next 10 days, right? Which is hugely exciting. And then on top of that, we're moving into the realm of AI agents, right? So you have places like 11 Labs, which does a lot of the audio stuff. They're like the leaders in all of those audio things. They already came out with the ability to utilize their voice technology with any agent that you want to train, whether it's Claude, GPT, or any of these ones. So when you can use O1 and train agents on it, then you'll be able to just take O1 and have it fully voiced. This is the thing that will eliminate like customer service jobs. Or I posted a video.
Please go ahead. Share that.
Of those couple of guys, right? Where it's like this guy is trying to make a deal for something to be delivered and what day it's going to happen. And the AI is the one communicating back and forth between these two companies on how these things will happen.
3 people. It was a customer, the delivery, and the people that were making it.
Right, exactly. And it was able to handle all of these things without them ever communicating with one another, right? And it's not one of the biggest issues that us as human beings have is time, right? All of us have different schedules. Sometimes getting on the same page as a whole group is very difficult because people have lives, right? They have families, they have things going on. AI is going to eliminate that barrier for us, and AI agents, especially when you have your own like assistant AI agent, will eliminate these barriers of communication for, Robert wasn't available, so I couldn't get an answer, right?
Right.
GPT will be able to communicate in between and be the intermediary and communicate those things in a faster process than before. So AI agents is arguably like the biggest development. That on top of O1 and these other models coming out, like, OpenAI isn't the only one pushing models. You have Anthropic and Claude doing the same things.
What's your thoughts on Grunt? Do you think that?
I think Grok will actually, it'll be very, very close. Honestly, it's less of an open model than GPT in my opinion.
Okay.
And it's more biased than GPT. So I have no desire to use a model that is less good and more biased.
Got it.
So like I think
enough said.
I think that at some point, and I just did get X Premium, so I could use it. But I do think that Grok will get better and better, and I do think it will be one of those premier models. But I think it will be a different strokes for different folks kind of thing. Like it will be
Ford, Chevy, Tesla.
Yes, yeah, right. They might all get you from point A to point B, but you like the way the drive there in your Ford than you do in your Chevy, right? So
Not to interrupt you, Matt, but Terry and I love watching Shark Tank. Man, was Microsoft Workplace just, they were the dominant advertiser on there because, of course, Mark Cuban is pushing, Microsoft Workplace. You know what I mean?
Did you guys hear that Jeff Bezos, he stepped away from being the CEO of Amazon and running Amazon to more of a like background role up until this year, and now he's back full time in Amazon working 100% on artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
The reason that he's doing
when
that
he
is
said
because it'll
we've
impact
always
every area of their business. So
we've always all of three of us you always use this analogy because Craig and I, and of course Matt, you were born and got into that era when we were saying that this is going to be so big that it's going to be like the internet. When you sent me that video and Jeff Bezos said, no, this is like electricity.
yeah,
Name something that doesn't use electricity.
right.
And I'm like going, shit. I mean,
Oh gosh, yes.
because internet doesn't exist without electricity. You know what I mean?
What happens when your power goes down? Everybody freaks out because they can't connect.
Read you can't read a book without light in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there going like,
Yeah.
fuck, electricity.
And how do you charge your batteries? With electricity. So when you'll have a little battery power, but once that's gone, forget it.
Yeah, we're so obsessed with like money and finances and all these aspects that a lot of this stuff, because of the current times, because of like the so-called like the milking of society for all of its wealth, right?
Right.
Up into the higher echelon of people, it is now being utilized in our artificial intelligence to train something that will get rid of the majority of people's work stuff, which is scary. But then on the other end of it, you having the same technology at your fingertips that Jeff Bezos has at his fingertips is pretty significant, and people don't understand how important that is. Well, man, that's why it's the electricity aspect. Is it's not just that it will use everything, but it will open your abilities to create stuff that's in your mind like you've never had before because of the steps that exist in between.
Well, just that one question, if we're talking about electricity, and Matt, I want you to continue because you get me so excited. But I'll never forget that someone one time asked me, so why do you need a job? And I thought that was the stupidest fucking question that you could ask anybody, And so I'm telling him why you need a job. And he goes, well, everything that you just explained to me is you're doing it for money because you need a car and you need food and you need shelter and you need electricity. And I go, yeah, of course, idiot. Of course you need money. And he goes, now let me ask you again, who told you that you needed a job to make money? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest shift.
Matt, like I was going to say, Matt took me one step further. So I have that significant emotional event where I'm going like, what are you talking about? And Matt's going like, Dad, what if you didn't need to be an entrepreneur to make money? What if you didn't have to market anything? I'm like, I don't know what you're fucking saying here.
Well, because it's different than like the way that we live our lives.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, it's you go from like like there's the way that our economy works and like the world economy works is off scarcity, right? Regardless of the ways that you see it, it's like whether it's money, I don't have enough of it, so it's scarce, or houses, there's not enough houses, there's not enough cars, there's not enough this, that. And these things become valuable because of the perception of scarcity. Well, it's not a lack. It's not a lack because if you get in an airplane and fly around, there's more than enough space to build houses.
And it's also the value that we place on that lack of that everybody, that creates that.
I'm going back, Craig, to what he said. There's not a lack. There's the mentality of scarcity.
Right. Well, that's that's why I said perception. Because
the perception of scarcity is one of the worst things that we've done, but it comes from the ego place. It comes from the part that I need to be better than the other human beings on the planet.
I can't get no satisfaction.
Right. So you need to have some form of better house, better car, more money, more this or that, because why else are we here, you guys? We don't have an understanding of why we're here, so let's make one up, right? And this is the one that currently works for us. So
keeping up with the Joneses or being better than the Joneses.
Right. And in the future, what artificial intelligence will do is it will swap that scarcity mentality into an abundance mentality. And when that abundance mentality happens, I'm interested to see how humanity deals with that. Because if you had the ability of Mark Zuckerberg right now, if you had an idea for an app that could revolutionize the way that people communicate with one another, a social media network, the barriers that's in between you and making that happen are so vast that it's pretty much impossible. You'd also have to beat the social networks that already exist because they'd at every moment rip off every idea that you have to stop your existence, right? Now let's move to instead of scarcity, all these things are stopping me. Let's move to an abundance mentality. I can have a conversation with artificial intelligence agents and they will build the things out for me that are necessary and help me come up with a launch and market it so then it can get to that place. Now, when any child or adult can make that decision and do that, now we have an abundance of ideas. We have an abundance of growth that we didn't have before based off of that scarcity. You could, roll the dice wrong on your birth and be born in a place that none of these advancements are happening. Now you are at a massive deficit in the ability to make these things happen. That is no longer going to exist with artificial intelligence. There will be an abundance of that. Any child, regardless of where they're born, can influence and change the world based off of the fact that they'll have readily available, basically infinite employees that can develop and come up with their ideas
Wow.
and follow through with them. And this exists in music, medicine, there's not an area that it doesn't exist,
Right.
right? And so you can take it back to those young girls and stuff that came up with those different math ideas. That will exist for every area of business, every area of commodities, right? So when you start thinking of different ways to do things, artificial intelligence will eliminate the barriers that exist for ideas to take place and to happen. Now, when that happens, there's going to be an abundance of people that are going to be incredibly upset by that. Why? Because they love that those guardrails are there. Those guardrails have existed
Control.
by design, right?
Exactly.
And putting a large majority of the human population in poverty really does help with that because now they're thinking of surviving instead of thinking about inventing, right? Now it's all about survival, not invention. As we move from scarcity into abundance, where we can grow food with artificial intelligence and skyscrapers, and the elements in the outside world have nothing to do with the abundance of food, the environment, all of these things won't be an issue. You can feed every child. And you go, well, how will we distribute all of that? Machines. How do we grow all that? Machines, artificial intelligence will do these things. Now, kids don't have to worry about houses. They don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about education, violence, all these different things that might exist that are
Wow.
barriers in between invention won't exist anymore. And they'll grow up with such a level of abundance that we will see in my opinion, and this is just like I could talk till I'm blue in the face about how great the technology is, but really this is where my mind exists. Is we will see another renaissance period in human history of invention and ideas that we've seen in the past. And these things normally only exist when human beings don't have to worry about survival, right? These times where people can just be inventors and invent things and figure things out. And some people are born into that and some people never have that. But when
Right.
you think about 8 billion people having that, the exponential growth is something we've never seen before because of those barriers not existing anymore. So I'm excited about that because the abundance mentality is something that I sign on to 1,000,000%.
Yeah,
There's a
me
lot
too.
of there's a lot of things that exist, and I believe that that's one of the ways to keep yourself motivated is to never tell yourself that there's not enough, that there's too much, that you're going to run out or
That you're
deplete.
limited is what you're saying.
You're
There's a
limited, right?
limiting. Yeah.
A limiting
Yeah.
factor on what you're capable of doing,
Right.
right? Or where you're born or what circumstances exist for you. And like this whole paradigm shift will really change how we raise our children, how we communicate with one another. Now that once you eliminate the ability of ego, right? So you can have somebody go, I want to create an app idea that works this way, or I want to create a company that's based off of this. There's nothing stopping a kid from growing up and making the same idea and doing the same thing that you're doing. They could remix it or they could decide not to, and there's not going to be a barrier in between you or them. So now you have to ask, okay, what does that do for commerce? What does that do for capitalism? What does that do? If I could just ask AI to create an app and I don't have to buy your app and it does the same thing, where does that leave us? Right? So now are human beings no longer inventing things based off of capitalism and financial incentive? Now we're going back to the polio vaccine. We're going back to inventing things to fix issues that we all deal with. And I cannot wait for the generations to grow up with that technology.
Yeah.
Without all the dogma that not only money needs to be involved, but all of this scarcity mentality that exists. Because they'll live in a world.
Ego and power and
yeah, they'll live in a world where
that's it right there.
The impact is more important than the personal reward. Right?
Right.
And we haven't been in that space in a really long time. Like the guy that created the polio vaccine gave it away for free because of impact.
Right.
We don't live in that time anymore. We don't.
No.
And so since we don't live in that time anymore, because we're so scarce on things or believe that we're so scarce on things, even though we live in the best time for invention that's existed, right?
Right.
There's such a massive amount of scarcity mentality, right? So I'm interested. That's my big idea and big thought, and I'll end it on that. You guys share what you think about that or where you think it'll go, because I'm always curious what
I think we've shared.
Normally we drop the mic on my comment. I want to drop the mic on your comment. Matt, the whole concept of I'll just say imagination usually starts with these words. Wouldn't it be nice if ... All right. So imagination starts with that. It starts with what if? And when Matt's saying that every person out there can access something that's not looking to control you, not looking to be more powerful than you, not coming
I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, even the part where, in Science of Getting Rich, it says when you can switch off the competitive and go into the creative. The stuff about powers, which we've said about Churchill, is when all of a sudden, someone doesn't have to take credit for any idea because we got to figure out how to stop this guy from destroying half of the world. You know what I mean? It's like when you got the great minds out there, and then AI is better than that. The whole concept of having a person based on their interest and learning those interests, and because a lot of people, I believe, in the world not only don't have any hope, but they don't have any value. You know what I mean? It's like, what kind of value?
They've been devalued on purpose.
Yeah, and so when all of a sudden you feel like you're valuable, when you feel like whatever idea or creativity, your what if, blah, 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 can be created. I just think that's amazing. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm done. I just love that idea.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to get there too. And it seems like we're rapidly moving towards it at a pace that you really can't stop at this point. And that is also very, very exciting. Like the fact that no one can it's scary and exciting because no one can kind of step in and put their hands up and say, let's stop this train from moving. Even if
has already been opened.
And we can go back to the electric car, right?
Yeah.
GM was the one that killed the electric car. And the reason that they killed the electric car is because financially it wasn't important enough to have electric cars at the time.
Right.
That scarcity of the money aspect and their shareholders is the reason that you don't have innovation. And it takes somebody that likes trial and error to innovate and then change the paradigm. And now everybody's got to make electric cars. Right.
Bingo.
And so,
or some other powered car, you know what I mean? It's because I believe that will change too. Matt, when I get these downloads, that's why I was laughing while you were talking. is because sometimes when people say something that really impacts me, like you just did, and thank you for saying that. I love when you share your perspective.
Thanks
And
for
I
letting me share.
yeah, and I normally say, from your lips to God's ears. And what hit me was from your lips to AI's.
Well, it's interesting because I think that will be like the really big combative thing, right? Is that us human being, the aspect that artificial intelligence can be trained to understand but really can't, is that spiritual aspect that humans have with the world and
Yeah.
with whether it's God or whether it's animals or anything that you have. There's some form of
Any
love, spiritual
relationship.
connection there
Yeah,
that we can't
any
really describe or
relationship.
understand, that you can't really train into an AI. It can
No.
mimic the things to get you to fall in love, but to say that it can fall in love, I don't think so, but you definitely can fall in love with it. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's this
looking forward
thing
to seeing
though.
where that goes.
When you talk about abundance, Matt, here's the thing that's always bizarre. Uh, and this is just ingrained maybe in our DNA, and hopefully AI can pull us out of it. But it's the whole concept that I can't just be 1000% vulnerable with 1000% integrity. And it's like this always thing where, mentally while your mind's processing and you're talking, is this one-upmanship. Or for you and I to have a relationship, it's got to be some way in line with, who's the dominant, or who's got, more power, or who, because most people are trained that in a relationship, like the only thing they're thinking of is not service. They're thinking about, what they can get out of that relationship. And so when you talk about the three people that we're talking with AI, you know what I mean? When is it cool to have a deal with somebody where it's a win-win-win, but it's not in the posturing and the shit of telling people how powerful you are to try to get the relationship correct so we can strike a deal. It's like not what if, when that's gone. When it's gone. So, okay, I got time. I got to talk to Matt about this deal. And then we both have to come up with agreement. Then we're going to strong arm Craig to get Craig to do what we need him to do. You know what I mean? There's this stuff in your mind that you're even trained in traditional and indoctrination, where there's bad sayings about it. It's like, well, what are you trying to do? Jew me down? You know what I mean? It's like, what? So you grow up in a culture and you're Jewish and you're just looking for the best deal. Why does that have to be turned into a slanderous statement?
Yeah, that normally comes, well, I mean, that comes from like the people
Control.
that are indoctrinated into those same beliefs.
Yeah.
It's not like babies are born racist or
No.
sexist or
No.
anything. So it always comes down to the element, and this is maybe where we can end it on, is that we are, as a humanity or as a society and humans in general, we are the best and the worst for ourselves. And
Yes.
because that's the case, I think having an outsider that is really trained enough to know us, but not trained so much to be us, is the best solution.
To give us
And
those
I think
views.
people are scared about that aspect of it, that artificial intelligence will exist in a way that when AGI happens and as it continues to self-grow off itself, when we hit that point where it no longer needs us, which is AGI, when that happens, it will seem almost alien-like in the way that it does things, because we just won't understand it, because it's not coming up with solutions based off of our rules. It's coming off solutions based off of its rules that it invented.
Right.
And
It's not
I think,
human, it is artificial.
well, that's what we say, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what we
Just as
want,
artificial.
obviously.
Well,
Yeah.
like I love playing around with this thought too, Craig, because it's such an interesting thought. So what makes up you, and what makes up this the table that's holding your computer?
Exactly.
What makes up the artificial intelligence systems? Energy, atoms,
And it was obviously it was a
molecules.
human idea that put this table together to create that artificial unit that is sitting in front of us.
Yep,
Yeah.
you get hot by doing things, and what do you have to do? You have to sweat. You have to
Yeah.
get rid of that heat. When a machine or a computer gets hot, what do they have to do? They have to get rid of the
Rid of
energy.
that
They have to
heat
push it out,
in
get rid of
some
the
way.
heat.
Yeah.
If they overheat, what happens? They shut off.
hmm
Pretty simplistic, isn't it?
When you break it down to the
Now, when you
basics.
guys are done with this and you go talk to O1, anyone that's watching this, both you guys included, when you ask it a question, watch what it does before it answers the question now, instead of just popping out an answer. It thinks. So that was the difference between O1 and the other ones.
Make
The other
us feel
ones,
more comfortable.
no, that's not it. Because you can click on the thinking thing and see how it thinks. It's different than that. Instead of artificial intelligence looking at this huge book of all the information and going, this is the right information. The difference between O1 and why it's closer to AGI, if not already there, is that it has the capabilities to look at all that knowledge and go, what's the right thing for the situation?
Yeah.
Now, that's not existed up until this point, you guys.
Wow.
Every other point, it goes this, and then you go, no, that wasn't the right thing, and it goes, oops, sorry, maybe this was the right thing. Now it's going, what does Robert really mean by what he's trying to say here? Because maybe he misspelled a couple of words. Maybe Matt misspelled a couple of words. Maybe he didn't know how to describe it right. Maybe I need to think about this for a second. I've seen it sit here and think about complex problems for 5 minutes before it gives me an answer.
Yeah.
That's
now when I
now,
log into
ask
when I
yourself,
log
like,
into when I log into my chat GPT and it says 4-40 and then it's grayed out on the O1 and the O1 mini.
yeah,
Why?
click new chat and then click on the model and see if it'll let you change.
If you're paying, I think it's based on the paywall.
You have to be
really
a paid member, but I know he is. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you guys have to click new chat. A lot of people have had this issue where they just like, you can change models in a chat, but O1 is only available for new chats. So ask it a question right now, see what it does. Watch, I'll do it, I guess.
Why? And while you're doing that,
why did you? Okay, I got you guys were talking.
Well, I was going to say, while you're doing that, we were talking earlier, just really quick, because I brought up the Disney aspect here.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And if you ever go into the tiki room and you look at the birds that are talking and moving, one thing that made the tiki room and some of the other animatronics so incredible was that Disney actually foresaw that, meaning blinking eyes, meaning when you watch the birds take a breath, you actually see their chest open and close, or move to the left and move to the right, depending on who's talking, so that they're not so robotic. So if you want to talk about early ideas regarding artificial intelligence and the way that it is received by people,
it's all
performance.
performance.
At a forefront.
We do it too.
Yeah. No, but I mean, the fact that you got robots, you have these animatronic birds that have been doing this for years. And now, people are saying, well, why does the robot take a breath? Well, it's human. And here he was back in the 50s and 60s creating these incredible animatronics to be as close to human as possible. Mr. Lincoln is another one. If you were in the Carousel of Progress and everything like that, now you're seeing those robots turn into almost living and breathing based on these concepts that have grown and become what they are today. So that's all I wanted to get that in, because
thanks for
it
sharing.
was so important earlier in the podcast. So people were waiting for that Disney moment that I wanted to share.
You had to stay till the end to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that keeps a lot of auto mechanics broke as I was a mechanic, is not only did the technology, we embrace technology because it just gets gooder and gooder. Everything gets gooder and gooder. And so to see that rapid growth with automobiles, and then all of a sudden I remember the first Supra came out and it had 4 computers on it. with all these neat things. And then, so what comes right behind that was all the new tools that we got to use. So it was this constant innovation of faster and quicker tools that, led to better engineering, that led to faster vehicles, safer vehicles, better technology on vehicles. And so, now you're watching the new Formula One cars, and they're talking about Cadillac is now stepping into 2026 for a Formula One car, when their Cadillac motors, believe it or not, have been winning everything. Like, no one can touch them. And they just finally said, well, instead of Formula One cars using Cadillac instead of McLaren or Lamborghini motors, you know what I mean, Mercedes motors, why don't we just make a Cadillac body? And the guy said that the new Cadillac suspension in F1 car, that there's 62 things the car can change without the driver.
Wow.
And they're saying that they're even figuring out where they can lower and raise the air pressure in the tire while it's moving.
I've heard of that.
And I'm going like, what the fuck? How can you do that? So can you imagine all these sensors on a car, moving 270 miles an hour, going around corners and stuff, and it's just going, we need a little more left traction on that tire the next time we go into this turn. I'm like, I just get chills, because they were just saying the new technology of the new cars is we'll just constantly just see them go faster laps, faster laps, faster laps. Now, they're not taking the human out of it yet, but I'm going like, why?
That'll be soon.
Yeah, it's like, why in the hell is a human in this?
Well, all of those aspects are like technology adapting, and they're utilizing it in there. But like the end goal, I think, like people make fun of Elon for some things, and I do as well. But when that big ass bus came out that was self-driven, right? And everyone was like, the hell is this? And like all these self-driven cars, in 10 to 15 years, that's how we'll all commute to go anywhere, hopefully.
Yeah.
Johnny Cab.
The way that the races will happen will be in virtual reality. It will not be in real life. And that's if I had to say where things would go in the future, is a lot of that stuff will go virtual for humanity, and a lot of the resources like deliveries and all these things and things being built will all be done by artificial intelligence.
Right.
So our world will be more like imaginative and more like creative, because that's the part that we like love to excel at. But
we'll have to find other ways to get the endorphins and things to sort of pop in us.
Well, they figured that out a while ago.
Then
it's called social media.
Then to run wide open into someone with your head. You know what I mean? It's like I'm just like, wow, there's still so much stuff.
Well, you could bungee jump, you could race spaceships, you could do whatever you want. The sky's the limit.
Which you can always already do. I mean, there is iRacing now, if you want to go back at that.
I'm saying more auditory, more physical.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
it will be more of a full dive situation where like your brain and the way that it works. Yeah. More like
Avatar
that.
Or surrogates. Yeah. Cool. Absolutely.
Ready Player One. Yeah.
Okay, Craig, sign us out, Matt.
All right. Wow.
Thanks, guys.
What an amazing discussion. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us and for enjoying what we have to share here on Unlimited Wisdom. Because that's what this is all about. Unlimited wisdom, where we get to share it with you and maybe open up your mind a little bit and expand it and be more thinking. Oh, hold on. Let me grab that, Robert. There we go. Unlimited wisdom. Exactly.
You say unlimited wisdom still works too in an age of AI.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
There's part of it. It's part of it. So we all
absolutely.
learn.
So you can follow Robert Hollis at roberthollis.com. Also, if you'd like to join our exclusive community by going to roberthollis.com/video, and then you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we got lots of great content there that you can explore. You'll also be able to participate in our special events, such as Ask Me Anything, as well as other things that take place on the roberthollis.com/video or YouTube channel. Both lead to the same way. Please don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube, as well as share it with others. It'll help us grow our community, reach out to those with ears that hear. Thank you, and shout out to our executive producer, Matt Hollis. Matt, bless you. Thank you so very much. What a great visionaire. Of course, Robert,
Hey, thanks for sharing, guys.
leader of our visionary group, our chief visionary officer. And thank you for joining us today here on this amazing episode of Unlimited Wisdom. Until next time, please be good to yourselves. Be cash. I'm Craig Jackman. Bye for now.
Bye, Craig. Bye, Matt.
Thank you, guys.
I
Thanks
love
for
you guys.
everything.
Thank you for all the
Love you
viewers
guys.
that are watching. It's gonna be fun for us one day to go back 6 months from now and go, what the hell were you talking about?
Hopefully AI is going to be at another level by then. But thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Love
All
it.
right.